From the passage, what can we state with regard to Dickinson's views on the colonist trade tactics? Dickinson's views or statements are given in the third paragraph. All before are calculated to regulate trade, preserve and promote a mutually beneficial intercourse between the several constituent parts of the empire. Yet those duties were always imposed with a design to restrain the commerce of one part. This statement by the colonist John Dickinson shows that the sole reason for new taxes is just for the British government to make money at the expense of the economies of the colonies. Dickinson makes an important distinction between the rights of the colonies and the authority of the parliament. Dickinson's comments were ubiquitous among the colonists and thus infuriated them to rebellion and the seizure of basic democratic rights. That should be enough to answer the question, but this is a very deceptive, a highly deceptive question, where the answer option actually depends on the wordplay, the construction of the statement itself, on the basis of which it can be very misleading. Let's look at the options and see what is the logic of elimination or the logic of qualification for the various options. A says, there was essentially dissent among the colonists towards parliamentary intentions as propounded by Dickinson. Now, the first part of this is quite correct. There was essentially dissent among the colonists towards parliamentary intentions. The parliamentary intentions were not for a mutually beneficial intercourse between the several constituent parts of the empire or the colonies, in other words. We see that there is dissent. We see two references here. Again, the colonists were infuriated and later will resist the British imperialism on the colonies. And we see it also here that this infuriated them to rebellion and the seizure of basic democratic rights. So all of that is true. Parliamentary intentions was basically to make money and to restrain the commerce of one part. So it was never meant to benefit the colonies, only the colonizers, only the British government or the parliament. So there was dissent. We see other references to this in the passage also. We see references to this in the first paragraph as well, some in the second paragraph as well. That said, as propounded by Dickinson, this is what distorts this option. Dickinson never propounded that there was dissent among the colonists. Dickinson mentioned or stated parliamentary intentions. Dickinson meant to say that parliamentary intentions were not completely pure or completely or did not consider the benefit of the colonies. They had nefarious purposes. The real reason was the benefit of the British government to make money. But that said, Dickinson never propounded, he never wrote down, he never stated that there was dissent among the colonists. Dickinson's statements were ubiquitous among the colonists and thus infuriated them to rebellion. He never stated that there is rebellion among the colonies against the parliament and its intentions. So A is incorrect. Option B says, there was absolutely no opposition to Dickinson's position with regard to parliamentary trade policies formulated among the colonists. This is actually the correct answer. This is true. One might think that this is false. Absolutely no opposition to Dickinson's position with regard to parliamentary trade policies formulated among the colonists. After all, we've seen the references. The colonists were infuriated and later will resist the British imperialism on the colonies. And we also see it here that they were thus infuriated. This infuriation led them to rebellion and the seizure of basic democratic rights. They also were attempting to claim that they were seceding from England, etc. But you see that the colonists were opposed to parliamentary trade policies. They were opposed to parliamentary intentions. They were not opposed to Dickinson's position. They believed Dickinson's position, and that led them to oppose parliamentary trade policies. Dickinson's comments were ubiquitous among the colonies. Now, ubiquitous means everywhere, omnipresent, present all through. But that means in this context, when we are talking about a statement, it doesn't mean that it is present everywhere. It was believed by everyone. It was all over across with the colonists, and they believed it, and this infuriated them to rebellion. So the colonists, they opposed, there was opposition to parliamentary trade policies or the intentions of the parliament. There was no opposition to Dickinson's position. At first glance, this seems absolutely directly contradictory to the passage, but looking at it in depth, we find that this is actually quite true. So we can qualify B. Option C tells us there was an amicable acceptance of the necessity of such acts by British for the greater good of not just the colonies, but the empire. This is wrong on two counts. First off, there was amicable acceptance. That is a reference from the first paragraph. We see it here. Let the parliament lay what burdens they please on us. We must, it is our duty to submit and patiently bear them till they will be pleased to relieve us. Thus, it could be said the colonists were of a submissive nature. But this does not connect with Dickinson's statement or Dickinson's position. The second problem here is that to say that there was acceptance of these acts because the British wanted greater good, not just for the colonies, but the empire. Yes, they wanted the benefit of the empire, but the colonies, not at all. So such acts were not accepted because it was Dickinson's position that the parliament or the British government did not want to benefit the colonies. They only wanted to benefit themselves. It is mentioned directly here. This statement by colonist John Dickinson shows that the sole reason for new taxes is just for the British government to make money at the expense of the economies of the colonies. And the colonies, they did not accept this fact at all. In fact, it infuriated them, and that led to them rebelling against the British government. So C is incorrect. Option D says there was opposition among the colonists regarding Dickinson's views on imperialist trade laws leading to rebellion. Yet again, leading to rebellion is in the right vein, but as we have seen, this is the opposite. This is contradictory to the statement made in option B, and that is why it is incorrect. There was opposition among the colonists regarding Dickinson's views on imperialist trade laws. No, incorrect. The colonists were opposed to imperialist trade laws. They were opposed to the parliament's trade policies and its intentions to make money for the British government at the expense of the economies of the colonies, but they were not opposed to Dickinson's views. Yet again, this reference, Dickinson's comments were ubiquitous among the colonists, which shows us that this is quite incorrect. So D is out, it can be eliminated. The correct answer is actually option B.